Today's date is August 12th, 2011. Time in is 1:25 p.m. I'm reading from my business law book. Grand Canyon University. It's a business law 340 class. This is chapter 4: business ethics, corporate social responsibility, corporate governance, and critical thinking. Page 97. We'll begin now. Actually, it's page the end of 96. Page 96. Criticisms of utilitarianism. What are the strengths of utilitarianism as a guide for ethical conduct? It is easy to articulate as a guide for ethical conduct. It is easy to articulate the standard of conduct. You merely need to do what is best for society as a whole. It also coincides with values of most modern countries like the United States. It is capitalist in nature by focusing on total social satisfaction, benefits, welfare, and wealth, not on the allocations of pleasure and pain, satisfactions and dissatisfactions and wealth. Criticisms of utilitarianism. Those strengths also expose some of the criticisms of utilitarianism as an ethical construct. It is difficult to measure one's own pleasures and pains, satisfactions and dissatisfactions, let alone those of all society's members. In addition, those benefits and costs almost certainly are unequally distributed across society's members. They can foster a tyranny of the majority that may result in morally monstrous behavior, such as a decision by a 100,000 person community to use a lake as a dump for human waste because only one person otherwise uses or draws drinking water from the lake. That example exhibits how utilitarianism refers from rights theory. While rights theory may protect a person's right to clean drinking water, regardless of its cost, utilitarianism considers the benefits and costs of that right as only one factor in the total mix of society's benefits and costs. In some cases, the cost of interfering with someone's right may outweigh the benefits to society, resulting in the same decision that right theories produce. But where rights theory is essentially a one-factor analysis, utilitarianism requires a consideration of that factor and a host of others as well. A final criticism of utilitarianism is that it is not constrained by law. Certainly, the law is a factor in utilitarianism analysis. The utilitarian analysis must consider, for example, the dissatisfaction caused by not complying with the law, and by creating an environment of lawlessness in a society. Yet the law is only one factor in utilitarian analysis. The pain caused by violating the law may be offset by benefits the violation produces. Most people, however, are ruled in utilitarian when it comes to law, deciding that obeying the law in the long run maximizes social utility. Profit maximization. Maximization as an ethical theory requires a certain decision maker to maximize a business's long-run profits within the limits of the law. It is based in the laissez-faire theory, Laissez-faire theory of capitalism, first expressed by Adam Smith in the 18th century and more recently promoted by economists such as Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell. Laissez-faire economists argue total social welfare is optimized if humans are permitted to work toward their own selfish goals. The role of government and law is solely to ensure the workings of a free market by not interfering with economic liberty, eliminating collusion among competitors, and promoting accurate information in the marketplace. By focusing on results, maximizing total social welfare, profit maximization is a theological ethical theory. It is closely related to utilitarianism, but it refers fundamentally in how ethical decisions are made, while utilitarianism maximizes social utility by focusing the actor on everyone's satisfactions and dissatisfactions. Profit maximization optimizes total social utility by narrowing the factors the actor's focus, requiring the decision maker to make a decision that merely maximizes profits for himself or his organization. Strengths of profit maximization. How can we define ethical behavior as acting in one's selfish interests, as You probably already learned in a macroeconomics course the apparent contradiction is explained by the consequences of all of us being profit maximizers by working in our own interest. We compete for society's scarce resources, iron ore, labor, and land, to name a few, which are allocated to those people and businesses that can use them most productively. By allocating society's resources to their most efficient uses as determined by a free market, we maximize total social utility or benefit. Society as a whole is better if all of us compete freely for its resources by trying to increase our personal or business profits. If we fail to maximize profits, some of society's resources will be allocated to less productive uses that reduce society's total welfare. In addition, profit maximization results in ethical conduct because it requires society's members to act within the constraints of the law. A profit maximizer therefore acts ethically by complying with society's mores as expressed in its laws. Moreover, each decision maker and business decision. Moreover, each decision maker and business is disciplined by the marketplace. Consequently, profit maximization analysis probably requires the decision maker to consider the rights protected by right theories and justice theory, and ignoring important rights of employees, customers, suppliers, communities, and other stakeholders may negatively impact the corporation's profits. A business that engages in behavior that is judged unethically by consumers and most members and other members of society is subject to boycotts, adverse publicity, demands for more restrictive laws, and other reactions that damage its image, decrease its revenue, and increases its costs. Consider, for example, the reduced sale of Martha Stewart branded goods at Kmart after Martha Stewart's Miss Stewart was accused of trading iron clone stock while possessing inside information. Consider all the fewer number of college graduates willing to work for waste management. In the wake of adverse publicity and the indictment against its executives for misstating its financial results, note also the higher cost of capital for firms like Dell as investors bid down the stock price of companies accused of accounting irregular trade and other wrongdoing. All of these reactions to perceived unethical conduct impact the business's profitability in the short and long run, motivating that business to make decisions that comply with ethical views that transcend legal requirements. Criticisms of profit maximization. The strengths of profit maximization as a model for ethical behavior also suggest criticisms and weaknesses of the theory. Striking at the heart of the theory is the criticism that corporate managers are subject to human failings that make make it impossible for them to maximize corporate profits. The failure to discover and process all relevant information and varying levels of aversion to risk can result in one manager making a different decision than another manager. Group decision making in a business context introduces other dynamics that interfere with rational decision making. Social psychologists have found that groups often accept a higher level of risk than they would as individuals. There is also the tendency of a group to internalize the group's values and suppress critical thought. Furthermore, even if profit maximization results in an efficient allocation of society's resources and maximization of total social welfare, it does not concern itself with how wealth is allocated within society. In America, more than 50% of all wealth is held by 10% of the population. To some people, that wealth disparity is unacceptable. The Layaz Fari economist, wealth disparity is a necessary component of a free market that rewards hard work, hard skills, innovation, and risk-taking. Yet critics of profit maximization respond that market imperfections and a person's position in life at birth interfere with his ability to compete. Critics charge that the ability of laws and market forces to control corporate behavior is limited because it requires lawmakers, consumers, employees, and other constituents to detect unethical corporate acts and take appropriate steps, even if consumers notice irresponsible behavior and inform a corporation. A bureaucratic corporate structure may interfere with the information being received by the proper person inside the corporation. If instead consumers are silent and refuse to buy corporate products because of perceived unethical acts, corporate corporate management may notice a decrease in sales, yet attribute it to something other than the corporation's unethical behavior. Critics also argue that equating ethical behavior with legal compliance is a tautology in countries like the United States, where businesses distort the lawmaking process by lobbying legislators and making political contributions. It cannot be ethical, they argue, for business to comply with laws reflecting the interests of businesses. Profit maximization proponents respond that many laws restraining businesses are passed despite business lobbying against those laws. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which increases penalties for wrongdoing executives, requires CEOs to certify financial statements and impose internal governance rules on which government on which on which public companies is such an example. So our laws restricting drug companies from selling a drug unless it is approved by the Food and Drug Administration and requiring environment impact studies before a business may construct a new manufacturing plant. Moreover, businesses are nothing other than a collection of individual stakeholders, which includes employees, shareholders, and their communities. When they lobby in the best interest of all these stakeholders. Critics respond that ethics transcends law, requiring in some situations that business adhere to a higher standard than required by law. We understand this in our personal lives. For example, despite the absence of law dictating for the most part how we treat friends, we know that ethical behavior requires us to be loyal to friends and to spend time with them when they need our help. In the business context, a firm may be permitted to release employees for nearly any reason except the few legally banned bases of discrimination, such as race, age, or gender. Yet some critics will argue businesses should not terminate an employee for other reasons currently not bound by most laws, such as sexual orientation or appearance. Moreover, these critics further argue that business, due to their influential role in a modern society, should be leaders in setting the standard for ethical conduct. Profit maximization responds that such an ethical standard is difficult to define and hampers efficient decision making. Moreover, they argue that experience shows the law has been a particularly relevant definition of ethical conduct. Consider that all the recent corporate scandals would have been prevented had the executives merely complied with the law. For example, Enron executives illegally kept some liability off the firm's financial statements. Like Philadelphia, executives illegally looted corporate assets. Had these executives initially complied with the law and maximized their firm's long-run profits, none of the recent ethical debacle would have occurred. Critics of profit maximization respond that the recent corporate crisis at companies like Enron and WorldCom prove that flaws in corporate governance encourage executives to act unethically. These examples, critics say, show that many executives do not maximize profits for their firms. Instead, they maximize their own profits at the expense of the firm and its shareholders. They claim that stock options and other incentives intend to align the interests of executives with those of shareholders to promote decisions that raise short-term profits to the long-term of the firm. They point out that many CEOs and other top executives negotiate compensation plans and that do not require them to stay with the firm long term, and which allow them to benefit enormously from short-term profits. Executive greed, encouraged by these perverse executive compensation plans, also encourage CEOs and other executives to violate the law. That is the end for now. 15 minutes is 11 minutes. I did not go over it.